smart guy. He's got some tremendous ideas, and he's young, and he's got some young ideas too, and that's a good thing. So he has a big, beautiful, bright future ahead. Vivek Ramaswamy. Come on up, Vivek. Yeah, Vivek Ramaswamy. Vivek is here. Because we can put him in charge of one of these big monsters, and he'll do a better job than anybody you can think of. So, Vivek, please, thank you very much. Vivek is great. He's really great. But he wanted this, and I'll give him full credit for it. I will never allow the creation of a central bank digital currency. He was quick, he's smart as hell, and he knew things that a lot of people didn't know and didn't understand. He did amazingly well, wiped a lot of very smart politicians off the stage. And you heard Vivek. How about
Vivek? Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the next governor of Ohio, Vivek Ramaswamy.
This is how legends are made.
What's this man's name right here, young man? What's your name there? How old are you? He's 6 years old. How about that? Give this man a round of applause. I loved his energy coming in. You remind me of my son. You're about a year older than he is, about a year taller too. Good for you. Thank you for being here. Welcome, guys. Thank you for being part of what I believe is a new movement in our state. We're kicking things off today. And it's good to be in the Glass City. Toledo was the glass capital of the world. And you know what? Toledo is going to be making a comeback not just for Ohio, but for the country when I start as your next governor. We're going to talk about that tonight. Thank you all. Right across the street from the Mud Hen Stadium. Anybody excited for the season to start? I think it'll be a good season. I'll tell you this, it's different than when I came here even a couple of years ago. America is now back, and it feels fantastic. America's here to stay. Our best days as a country are still ahead of us, but we're not going to get there automatically. It's going to take a lot of hard work. And in fact, the real work is still yet ahead this year and in the 2 years we have left, all the way through the election of the next governor of this state next November. Over the last year, I traveled this country tirelessly to help make sure we re-elected Donald Trump to send him back to the White House because it was a fork in the road for the future of the country. I believe the future of the country depended on it. And in November, we made the right decision as Americans. We came together and delivered a mandate not for incremental change, but for sweeping change in our country. And now there's a fresh new energy, a new enthusiasm, a new verve. We can all see it. We can all feel it. 6 years old, all the way down to 6 years old. I love that. We can feel it in the country. And it's a beautiful thing. I have never been more optimistic for the future of our country than I am right now. We are on the cusp of a new golden age in America. A revival of conviction in what it means to be a citizen of this nation. What does it mean to be an American? It means we believe in the ideals of the American Revolution. It means we believe in hard work and merit. that you get ahead in this country not on the color of your skin, but on the content of your character and your contributions. That's why we've ended the affirmative action and DEI nonsense, starting with the federal government and across the country. It means we believe in free speech and open debate. And I say this as a proud Republican. That means if you're a Democrat, you still get to express your opinion too, as long as your neighbor does in return. And you know what? We still get together at the dinner table at the end of it, because that too is what it means to be a proud American. It means we believe in the rule of law. And I say this as the kid of legal immigrants myself to this country. That means your first act of entering this country cannot break the law, and that is why we're securing that southern border as we are right now with pride, because that is who we are as a nation. We're founded on the rule of law. It means the people we elect to run the government ought to be the ones who actually run the government instead of unelected bureaucrats in the deep state. That's the hard truth today. It means that we as Americans are brave, that we are courageous, and when called upon, even heroic, to serve our country in our hour of need. Those are the American ideals. That is the American spirit that won us the American Revolution. And that is the American spirit that Donald Trump is bringing back as our 47th president. Thank you. And I have to say this, I am proud and grateful and honored to have received his endorsement promptly last night as soon as I declared my candidacy for governor. I'm grateful to him because he's going to require partners at the state level to also save this country, because this isn't a one-man job. It's going to require leaders at every level, from the community level to every municipality to every state leader in this country, to step up and do their job as well. We're not just going to be saved by expecting one person or somebody else to do the job that we have to do ourselves. And that starts with the states. Starts actually here in Ohio. Donald Trump's going to succeed in the next 2 years, and that means he's going to send programs from education to healthcare back to the states and to the people where they belong. That's what our founders envisioned. That's what true federalism is all about. Donald Trump is reviving our conviction in America. We need a leader here back home who revives our conviction in Ohio. Donald Trump has a vision for America. We need a leader here at home who has a vision for Ohio. And that is why last night I declared my candidacy to become the next governor of a great state at the heart of the greatest nation known to mankind. The state where I was born and raised. The state where I'm raising my 2 sons today. A state whose best days are still ahead. I am proud to announce again my candidacy to be the next governor of the great state of Ohio. Thank you. And we're doing it in person right here in the glass city of Toledo. We're going to lift up Ohio, all corners of the state. From Cincinnati to Cleveland to Columbus to Toledo to Appalachia, it's going to be all parts of this state that rise up and prosper under the next 8 years of how we lead this state. I will lead Ohio to become the top state in the country to raise a young family, the top state in the country to start and grow a new business, the top state in the country where we give our kids a world-class education in reading, writing, math, critical thinking, and physical education. The state where we train our kids and equip them with the tools not to be victims, but to be victors in a competitive global economy. We're not victors. We're not victims. We're victors. That's who we are. We win. The state where we embrace capitalism and meritocracy without apologizing for it. The state where we take a hatchet to red tape and regulations to allow for economic productivity and growth and success. The state where we lead in the sectors of the future, from semiconductors to AI to aerospace. We launched at an aerospace company last night, this campaign in Butler County right here of Ohio. That's the Ohio we know, leading us to not just the sectors of the past, but the sectors of the future as well. I'll lead Ohio to become the top state in the country where patriots across the nation who share our values are going to flock to instead of just Texas and Florida. I will lead Ohio to become the state of excellence in the United States of America. Thank you. If you think that sounds unrealistic, it's actually not. It wasn't long ago that Ohio actually was that state. Think about this. In the last turn of the last century, people weren't making fun of Ohio. They were aspiring to be Ohio. The turn of the last century in the Industrial Revolution, we were the wealthiest state in the country. We were the third most populous state in the Union. We were an economic powerhouse with fertile farmland, great natural resources right underneath our ground, the leading edge of that first industrial revolution. 6 of the top 15 wealthiest cities in America were right here in Ohio, and that included Toledo, the glass capital of the world. It included Akron, the rubber capital, where I visited last week. It included Cleveland, where we'll be later tonight in our event in Strongsville, and Youngstown, the steel capitals of the world. It included Dayton, which was the computing power capital that powered the entire Industrial Revolution. My hometown of Cincinnati was known around the world as the Queen City, the consumer products capital of the world. Porkopolis, providing the food supply for the rest of the country. That was my home city. We were the pioneers, the explorers, the unafraid, the people who no government and no bureaucracy would dare to stop from achieving the maximum of our God-given potential. The state that gave the Wright brothers the self-confidence as kids when they grew up here to eventually take flight. The state that gave the self-confidence to John Glenn and Neil Armstrong to go to the outer frontiers of outer space. We were the state of excellence in America, and we can be the state of excellence again, because you know what? We have the same natural advantages that we did back then. The same fertile farmland, the same Erie Canal to New York City, the same Ohio River to the Mississippi, the same great workers who share the culture of this nation, who prize hard work with their dedication and their love of the country. The same geographic location at the heart of the greatest nation known to the history of mankind. Today, with 60% of North America's population within a single day's driving distance of where we're sitting right now. We have the same advantages. God has blessed our state with all of the natural resources and gifts that we need to lead the United States of America. All we need to do is start to believe in ourselves again, and that's up to us. There's a second industrial revolution right now in the country, and I believe that Ohio can and will lead the way again. If Silicon Valley led the American economy for the last 10 years, it's going to be the Ohio River Valley and the Maumee River Valley for the next 10 years. That's where I'm leading us as your next governor. It may not be the sectors of the past like rubber, although I don't think we're done with glass yet. But it will be also the sectors of the future, from semiconductors to nuclear energy, from biotech to Bitcoin, to our defense industrial base, to AI, the state where we use AI not to take jobs, but to make jobs through workforce training and education. The state where we actually excel and celebrate success instead of penalizing it or apologizing for it. That's where I'm going to lead our state. This is our modern day Northwest ordinance. We are a conservative state, and it is time for us to actually be governed like one. That's not going to lose us elections. That will win us elections. You want to know why? Because it's going to lift up more people from poverty. You want to know why? Because it's going to actually put more money in your pocket. It's actually going to make sure our kids have greater civic pride and self-confidence to fill that vacuum of doubt. It's going to be the reason why patriots across this country, from California to New York, and yes, even from Texas to Florida, move, and in some cases move back to Ohio to reestablish their roots here, repatriating so many of our kids who choose to move out as adults to pursue their American dream in some other state no longer. They can do it right here in Ohio, closer to where their parents and their grandparents and their roots are, but without sacrificing the opportunity they want to pursue in their own lives for their American dream as they deserve to as well. That's where I'm going to lead our state. And thank you very much. I appreciate that. I appreciate it. I'm a little biased on this, but I think it's the truth. I think that's going to require a new generation of leadership in our state. I think it's going to require a governor with fresh legs, who isn't encumbered by the bickering politics of the past in some other era. Good-intentioned people, but who made their career in politics. I don't think now is the moment for another career politician. I don't think now is the moment for anyone other than the next generation to reach the next generation. It's a time and place for a leader that brings a fresh perspective to Ohio, a leader who's willing to drive hard change when necessary, a leader who's willing to run through any obstacle that stands in the way to lead Ohio back to greatness, to lead Ohio to become the leading state of economic excellence in America, because there's going to be some changes that are needed. We have the same gifts that God gave us the first time around. Those are still the gifts of this state. So the changes we need to make aren't really changes to our state. They're changes to the man-made policies that have held our state back from competitors like Florida and Texas. We're going to have to become a zero-income tax state eventually. We got to bring down that income tax so we can compete with 8 or 9 other states that have already done the same thing, because you deserve to keep what you earn. It is your money, not the government's, and we would do well to remember that, just as 8 other states have done. We've got to bring down the property tax burden in this state and do it immediately. Eventually, in a future that brings that perhaps even down to zero itself as well. Because you want to know what? You have people in the state who are paying as much money in property taxes as they do in the principal repayments on their mortgages, sometimes even including the interest. That's unacceptable. It starts to make your owned land, the land that you own, feel like it's a lease from the government. That's un-American, and we're going to have to put that to an end. And I pledge that as your governor, one way or another, we will bring the property tax burden down so you can start feeling like an American property owner, as is your birthright as an Ohioan. We're going to get that done. We're going to have to end the wave of violent crime and all forms of crime in our cities by actually backing law enforcement, standing for our sheriffs and our police officers so they can do their jobs without fear of looking over their shoulder for fear of being sued. That means they also need the proper training needed to do their jobs and to do it well. And it will also require, I believe, and this is controversial amongst some of our friends on the left, but I'm going to go there anyway because I think it's the truth. We need to bring back the psychiatric hospitals that we have shuttered over the last several decades, because our jails cannot be and must not be the first line of psychiatric care. They're overrun. And it's what's true, and it is what is right, and we have to stand for what is true in our state. We're going to end the war on work. We have a worker shortage right now. That's well known by anybody who owns and operates a business from large to small. And yet, we are paying people more money to stay at home instead of to go to work. That's going to end on my watch. We will reattach work requirements to Medicaid and welfare, because making somebody more dependent on the government is not compassion. That is a form of cruelty as well. The way we're going to save our country and save our state is not through greater dependence on the government, but independence from it, because we're not victims, we're victors. That's who we are. We don't whine, we win. We put people back to work, and we celebrate that when they can stand on their own 2 feet as proud Americans. That's true dignity, and that's true respect. We're going to make every public expenditure transparent in this state, from the state expenditure to the local, to the county, to the city, to the municipality. Put it on the blockchain so everyone can see it, so that sunlight can be the best disinfectant, so you deserve to see how your money's actually spent. And that's where we're going to find the savings. We're going to take a hatchet to red tape, regulations, bureaucratic overreach. For every new regulation that they try to put up under my administration, I will require that we rescind at least 10 more before that has even a chance of taking effect. So we can take a hatchet to red tape. I've traveled this state. I haven't met a single person who has told me that we need more red tape in the state. You meet a lot who tell you that you need a lot less, and they're right, because it takes 18 to 36 months to permit a new natural gas pipeline to power that new economy of the future. That should be 6 months or less to be competitive with the rest of the country, and under my administration, you're darn right that it will be. We want to be the state of energy dominance, manufacturing dominance, AI dominance, leading this state to lift up every Ohioan in every part of this state. This isn't just about enhancing our GDP numbers, though there's nothing wrong with that. I'm in favor of it, and that's going to happen on my watch. But it's deeper than that. These are vital improvements to our economic and social fabric as a state. We don't want to be a state where little league teams have to shut down because they can't find a local company to sponsor them anymore. We don't want to be a state where a mom has to think twice before having that second or third or fourth kid for fear of the cost of a new stroller or a bigger car. We don't want to be a state where parents have a doubt of whether or not their children are going to go on to live a better life than they did. No. We want to be a state where every parent has that bone-deep conviction, that American dream, that they know their kids have a shot at living an even better life than they did in the country. And I got to say, I love we brought the lighting down and up right during that. This is good. We should take that show on the road, Strongsville. Let's get that going in Strongsville for the party tonight. We'll close out the tour. I mean it. I will lead Ohio to be the state of economic excellence in America. But to do that, we also have to make sure that Ohio is the state of educational excellence in America. Thank you. And here I'm going to go to an uncomfortable place for many people, frankly, in both parties. And I believe that both political parties haven't talked about or addressed this issue enough. You know, they tell you, if you care about somebody, you tell them the truth. If you care about yourself, you tell them what they want to hear. I'm going to tell you the truth today. 75% of 8th graders in our country and in our state are not performing math according to proficient standards, international standards that are accepted around the world. 70% of them aren't proficient in reading. We rank number 26 out of 38 developed countries on math and reading proficiency, despite the fact that we spend more on education than every one of those other 38 countries. There are kids right now in other countries where English isn't even their first language, performing better on English proficiency than our own students here. I wish I was joking. This is the situation we're in right now, and I am so glad to see us move to what I believe is a post-DEI, post-woke, post-race and gender and sexuality obsessed chapter in our national history. It's a beautiful thing. But now the burden's on our shoulders to say what that post-DEI and post-woke education actually looks like. And I think we have to bring an actual vision to that to make sure that our nation is not just sliding through some elegant decay so China laughs at our decay into oblivion. No, I refuse to be a bystander. I care about this country. I love this country and our state too much to watch that happen. And it won't happen on my watch. We're going to turn this ship around. We're going to lead Ohio to become the top state in the country and in the world for those kids to get that world-class education in math, in reading, in writing, in critical thinking, and yes, physical education too. That's going to require taking school choice to the next level. We're not bad, but we could be better, like Arizona or Iowa, where homeschooling is also a viable option for every parent who desires it. Anybody who's a parent of multiple kids knows every kid is different. And every parent knows and should know they are able to send their kids to the best possible school or option, regardless of the zip code that they're born in. We won't apologize for that. Now, what's the counter argument you hear? They say that that would drain money from our public schools. Well, here's the dirty little secret. History has shown us in this state that showering more money doesn't automatically solve a problem in that public school. It is a deeper structural failure. And here I'm willing to say something that maybe we as a Republican Party can embrace more. Not only do we favor school choice, and we do and we should, but we will also stand for the reforms required so that our public schools may compete with the best of the alternatives. And I'm going to lay out some vision for the future of our state on how we're going to lead the way in our country right here in Ohio. First of all, we got to make sure that our kids are safe in our schools. We're going to use our dedicated base of police officers to make sure that we have at least one of them in every school in this state with the proper training needed to be there and to do their jobs well. That is how we protect our children while standing for Second Amendment rights in our state. We got to make sure that our kids show up to school. There's a chronic absenteeism problem right now, and it has only gotten worse after the tragic COVID-19 school closures. And that is what they were. They were a tragedy in this state. I will pledge this as your next governor. Never again will we bend the knee to an Anthony Fauci knockoff who allowed our public schools to be closed while the private schools managed to remain open. She owes them an apology. Those kids deserve better than they've been given by the Democratic, in this case, leaders who guided all the leaders of this state to make some decisions that we ought to learn from. We will never repeat the mistakes of the past. We're going to stand for the achievement of our students, from the sports fields to the classroom, excellence in every domain. And that is going to require one basic common sense reform, where I, as your next governor, will lead Ohio to become the first state in the United States of America to implement merit-based pay for every teacher, principal, superintendent, and administrator in this state. People should be paid according to their results, not according to the mediocrity-based standards of which we're applying to our public schools today. Now, I'll be crystal clear about this. I'm not looking to pick a fight with anybody. I'm not looking to pick a fight with the teachers' unions. But I'm not going to back down from one either if that's what's necessary to stand for the achievement of our students. I'll also be clear about this. I went to public schools through 8th grade. I think of great teachers who touched my life. I think of Mrs. Kinney in 6th grade at Robert E. Lucas Intermediate School in the Princeton School District. It was a public school and it had a magnet program where I went, actually transferred into in 6th grade. She changed my life. She saw potential in me that I didn't know that I had. She lit a fire under my feet, caused me to work harder, to make more of that potential. If it wasn't for her, I may not have lived the American dream in the way that I have. And if she were here, we would be thanking her right now, but for the fact that she died in a tragic accident a few years ago. We need more teachers like Mrs. Kinney in our public schools, but we are no longer recruiting the very best because there is no meritocracy in compensation. If we bring back meritocracy to public education, Ohio will become a magnet for the best educators across the country. And that is what our kids deserve. The best teachers who help them excel in math and reading and writing. And we're not going to forget physical education either. We're going to integrate more PE into early childhood education, starting in kindergarten in our public schools. We're going to bring back the presidential fitness test. And that includes the pull-ups. It's not a bad thing. They could do it 20 years ago and 40 years ago. They can do them today. Not everybody's going to pass, and that's okay too. It sets a standard to aspire to. We're going to serve healthier food in our cafeterias at the same cost that we do today, because the best way to save on health costs in the long run is to foster a healthier population in the first place. That's not just physical health, it's mental health too. We're going to end the epidemic of depression, anxiety, fentanyl, opioid usage, and suicide that has festered in our state for too long. We're going to fill that crisis of purpose and meaning in our young people. Start with the basics. Let's finally get the darn cell phones out of the classroom. There's no reason for that to happen other than the fact that it helps placate students. It's not a good reason. We have to fill that deeper crisis, that black hole at the heart of a generation with the real thing. Individual, family, nation, and God beats race, gender, sexuality, and climate if we have the courage to stand for what is right, what is true, what is good. I want to help revive faith in our state by standing for the religious liberty of persons of every faith in Ohio. That's what the Northwest Ordinance was about. It was a group of Baptists who came to the Northwest Territory to seek religious freedom for persons of every faith, even before we had a constitution. I think that was back in about 1787. It was the Constitutional Convention in 1789. That was the history of this state, and we got to stand for who we really are. We're going to stand for the power of the nuclear family as the greatest form of governance known to mankind. And that means we will eliminate the disincentives to family formation, but it also means that we will hold ourselves to a higher standard as leaders. My wife, Apurva, joined me for the tour last night in the southern part of our state. She's today working at the cancer hospital. It's where her day job is normally. She's the true hero in our family. She's a great mother, a wonderful wife, but she's also a boss of a surgeon, treating patients every day who suffer from throat cancer. And Apurva and I speak for both of us when I say this, hope to set an example for young people in our state that marriage is good, that the nuclear family is good, that stability in the family is something that young men and women can aspire to, and do it, I hope, in a way where we're not talking out of both sides of our mouths as conservatives who believe in those traditional classical values, but to make them cool again for the next generation by practicing what we preach. Reviving civic education in our young people to teach them to be proud of our country and our state rather than ashamed of it. They deserve it. That means getting rid of the woke indoctrination and the victimhood psychology with actual U.S. history and actual civics lessons that teach them to be proud, teach them what it means to be an American. Say the Pledge of Allegiance in every school in this state with a moment of silence every morning. That's what's going to happen in the public schools on my watch. And every high school senior who graduates from an Ohio high school on my watch will have to pass the same civics test that every legal immigrant has to pass in order to become a naturalized citizen of this country. You got to know something about the country in order to respect the country and love the country. And that's the job of K through 12 education. After we light that fire under the feet of our public schools, that lays the foundation for then taking higher education to the next level. I want Ohio to have the top universities in the country. I went through the American dream. My path ran through four-year college education. I went to Princeton Public Schools through 8th grade. I went to St. X High School. In high school, we have our Jesuit friends in the northern part of the state we used to compete against too. Toledo St. Francis. I don't know if we have anybody here from any Toledo St. Francis guys. That's great. And St. Ignatius on the other side of the state. We used to come here. You guys were pretty good at tennis. I remember that. The tennis teams used to clash. I went to Harvard. You were a swimmer? That's good. Good swimmers there too. St. X too. I went to Harvard for college. I went to Yale for law school. My wife went through a similar path. She lived her version of the American dream, now a physician today. We're proud of our path, but our path cannot be the only path either. And as your next governor, I will stand for making it easier for young people to also pursue vocational degrees and 2-year programs, to become welders or mechanics or carpenters or builders. I don't call these professions the trades. I call them professions because that's what they actually are. They deserve the same respect and dignity as every other path to the American dream. Support Earn While You Learn programs as early as high school. So there's a path to greatness for you that doesn't have to run through crippling 4-year college debt and occupational licensing requirements that may not even make sense for many of those professions. We want it all in this state. We want to be the state where we recruit and train those genius programmers who program the next generation of AI from right here and across the country in the United States of America. Homegrown in Ohio is even better. But we also want to be the state that trains those skilled workers to use that next generation of AI and apply it to their respective fields, from healthcare to financial services to construction design. This isn't a blame game. This isn't a game of either or, where one of these paths is more or less elite than the other. In my view, they're all elite, because we're all Americans and we're all proud Ohioans. I want this state to be the top state in the country, where every man and young woman who's able to do it, wants to pursue a path to become a doctor or an engineer, or for that matter, a scholar of history or literature or chemistry, to be able to go to the universities in this state to do that at the highest possible level, while also providing a successful path to every young man and woman who wants to become that welder or mechanic or carpenter at a moment where we need more of them. We will be the state where the paths to success are plural, where every young child in this state is able to pursue the best path for them. That is what a true meritocracy is really about. America was built on the idea of a meritocracy, a nation that recognized that every one of us has our own unique God-given gifts, distinct from every other person in the world. And that yet we are the state where you are able to maximize your God-given potential without any government or bureaucracy or system standing in your way. That is what made America great the first time, and that is how we will make Ohio great again. Our metrics for success aren't just the green pieces of paper in our pockets. It's not just the GDP numbers. My metrics for success as your next governor, the metrics of success you should use to measure whether or not I delivered as your next governor, are the number of people who move into our state versus out, the number of children born into families in this state, and the number of those children who go on to remain in this state to pursue their American dream as adults as well. And if we do our jobs, and I'm confident we will, I promise you we will do our level best to take our state to the next level, and that we will succeed in doing so. We will be the top state in the country on every one of those metrics. The state where the American dream is reborn in new form. The state where the American dream isn't just about flowery language and vision, but the state where we turn it into hard reality. The state where young people don't have to be envious of somebody else's success or spiteful towards capitalism or those who succeed through capitalism, because they're instead participating in it already with real skin in the game. I am a father of 2 sons, as I mentioned at the beginning. And my message to them and to every son and daughter of Ohio tonight is this: the American dream is your birthright. A world-class education is your birthright. Success is your birthright. Freedom was your heritage, and excellence is your destiny. This isn't a small vision for our state. This is an ambitious vision, because that is who we really are as Americans and as Ohioans. We are not victims, we are victors. We don't whine, we win. I'm not a career politician. There's no teleprompters here tonight, and there won't be for the rest of this campaign. I said it last night. If you didn't like something in my speech, we can't blame my speechwriter because you're looking at him, all right? That's the way we're going to roll in this campaign, traveling the entire state this year. I will travel to all 88 counties. This year, I will travel to all 88 counties. Next year, I will travel to all 88 counties every one of the 8 years that I serve as your next governor, because I want to listen to every Ohioan, from our cities to every rural community to the foothills of Appalachia. I don't want to govern from a bubble. We want to win next year's general election in a landslide victory that unites this state around this vision. That's going to require a big tent coalition. All of us, constitutional conservatives like we have probably many of in this room, like me. But it also requires other kinds of Republicans, independents, libertarians, orphaned Reagan Democrats, other orphaned Democrats, anybody else who finds themselves politically homeless in this state, my message to you is this. If you care about economic excellence and educational excellence, then we have a place for you in this movement and a seat for you at the table. My message to every Democrat in this state today is this. We may not agree on everything. We won't agree on everything. That's a beautiful thing. We love our diversity of thought in Ohio as long as we get to express our opinions to one another. But I'll tell you this, if you care about putting more money in your kid's bank account, if you care about your kids having the same shot at the American dream that this state and this country gave to me, then we're actually on the same team. And we will work together to turn that dream into reality. I am grateful for the broad base of statewide and national endorsements that we've already received. A couple of the national endorsements came in last night. You guys might have heard of a guy named President Trump who came out last night and endorsed me. The greatest president, I believe, of our century. It was an honor to receive his endorsement. My friend Elon Musk came out last night, a bunch of other senators. Thank you to everybody. Rick Scott, Marsha Blackburn, Mike Lee, and countless others at the national level. But also right here in the state. How about Frank LaRose? I think he already took off to our next location. Spoke really well. He's the Secretary of State now. He's going to be an even better state auditor, and I want to thank him for having the courage to run for that role. We're going to put a lot of responsibility on his shoulders. I want to thank Robert Sprague. He did a great job as well, didn't he? Our current state treasurer, one of the best in the country in that role. He's going to fill Frank's shoes as the Secretary of State, and he's going to do an outstanding job there as well. And I'm grateful to Robert for stepping back from the governor's race where he first began, and to be able to say that, you know what, we're going to work together as one team to take this state to the next level. Christina Rogner, whose support I earned last night when she came out endorsing. She's running for state treasurer, a star state legislator whose best days in this state are still ahead of her. I want to thank the broad base. I'm going to call to the stage a special person, actually. I'm looking at him right there. Steve Lavorchik. You guys know this guy from Ottawa County. He spoke earlier. Steve, come on up here. I want you to say a few words. Steve endorsed me a few weeks ago, and we've got to know each other really well. He's been giving me, I think, great perspective on how we're able to better back the blue. And Steve, I know you already spoke. I'm going to ask you to say a few more words. I didn't get to hear you. I want to stand behind you and appreciate everything you've done for us.
Thank you. Okay, earlier I had notes. I don't now. So this is going to be winging it. And again, I told you I'm not a natural politician. I'm a cop. But I'm a cop who speaks passionately for the service to our communities. 41 years I've done this job. My dad was a police chief where I came from for 43 years in law enforcement. I've always wanted to beat his record. I'm going to, I think. But I'm blessed to know a man like Vivek who takes this state and wants to hold it up above the others, that takes our lives and wants to hold them up, who takes young children and wants to give them that opportunity that we had, and who is literally listening to me when I speak about law enforcement and our lack of training and our mental health within our jails, and he takes it to heart. The very first conversation we had on the phone was about that. Next time I spoke to him, there were other sheriffs around. I think we had about 40 sheriffs last week that we talked to. And he spoke exactly about what we spoke about the first time. He actually listened. That's rare in politics. And this man did it, and he feels it in his heart. I am 100% all in with Vivek. I can't thank him enough for what he's doing for law enforcement, for what he's doing for me as an Ohioan. We have children. I have a grandchild. And they have a future in Ohio now, as long as we have Vivek as our governor. So thank you for allowing me to come back up, Vivek. Thank you so much. I'll
See you in Strongsville, my man. Thank you. See, from Ottawa County is actually where the War of 1812 was won. Steve actually reminded me on an Ohio history lesson, which I appreciated. And, speaking of the War of 1812, I actually want to recognize, if he's still here, Sheriff Mike Navarre. Mike, are you still in the room? Back there. Oh, there you are. Okay, there you are. Mike who spoke of the War of 1812, but his great-great-grandfather, Peter Navarre, whose name is around this town, was actually someone who played a role as a scout in that war, and straight lineage down. He's also another sheriff, and I hope you don't mind my saying this, but Mike is, maybe from a different political party than most of us in this room. But it didn't matter. When we met, we share the same value set in common, which is to stand for the rule of law, stand for law and order, make sure that our police officers are able to do their job without fear of getting sued, to make sure that we're helping recruit the best and brightest into police work. And Mike, I appreciate you being here today, because this isn't about Republicans and Democrats. I'm not running to be the president of the Republican Party of Ohio. That role's already taken. I'm running to be the next governor of Ohio for all Ohioans. And that's the way we're going to lead this state. And I want to thank you especially for being here and for also sharing with me your perspectives. Gina Campbell's still here. She sang a great national anthem, didn't she? Give her another round of applause. She was amazing. And Pastor Tim Collet, if he's here, it's a great invocation, a great way to start the program. Thank you, guys. I want to give you guys a round of applause. Mark Wagner, there you are. Stand up, my man. Thank you. Give this man a round of applause. Former chairman of Lucas County, passing the torch to Barbara Orange, who's doing a great job. Barbara, thank you. Stand up. You're doing a great job. Thank you. I know this is a tough county, and you guys are fighting every day for the conservative values that made this country great. I want to thank your colleagues. You're helping elect great representatives in this area. It doesn't just start with the presidency. It doesn't start with the governorship. It's the bottom up. Josh Williams, thank you for the endorsement. Thank you. This man has a great story. It's an American dream story. He's been through hardship, but he understood hardship is not the same thing as victimhood. Hardship is something that happens to you. Victimhood is a choice. This guy, he'll let you tell him the story in his own terms, but how about that in House leadership right here in our state from his background? I appreciate that, my man, and everything you represent for our kids. You set a great example. DJ Swearingen, where are you? There you are. Yeah, good to see you, my man. Thank you for everything you're doing in leadership as well and representing this part of the state. Tony Schrader, great to see you, and thank you for everything you're doing, my man, as well. You're doing good work, and both at the county level as well as at the state Republican Party level. Keep up the great work. I like that red tie. That's good. Standing for it. Judge Mike Golding, where are you? Well, Judge Mike Golding. We need good judges because that's the ultimate backstop. That is the backstop for actually protecting both the Constitution of the state and standing for the U.S. Constitution as well. We would do well to remember, actually, our state is governed by a great state constitution that goes even further in protecting religious liberty than even the U.S. Constitution. It is the greatest document, greatest operating manual ever written for a nation was our U.S. Constitution. And we would do well to stand for it once again. We're going to show what that looks like right here in Ohio. To the extent we have a primary this year, we'll see about that, after yesterday. I welcome that, actually, because competition breeds innovation. I want to be conservative without being combative. I want to work with everybody, even those who run against me, to help take our state to the next level, because even my strongest opponents are going to have ideas worthy of our consideration, and we will consider them. I want to invite every Ohioan, black or white, man or woman, urban or rural, and even Democrat or Republican, to work together to take our state to our future, to our best days that are still ahead of us. We don't have to be a state in decline. We are still a state in our ascent, still on our way to that shining city on a hill. That state where, 10 years from now, you know what they're going to say when we have manned rockets we're sending to Mars, nuclear energy powering our electric grid, curing previously incurable genetic diseases? People are going to say, that's only in Ohio. And you know what? We're going to be proud of it when we do. We will still be a state where we look our kids in the eye and mean it when we tell them that you get ahead in the United States of America and you get ahead in the state
of Ohio with your own hard work, your own commitment, your own dedication, and that you know what? You are free to speak your mind at every step of the way. That is the American dream. That is what we are running to. That is what I will revive in this state as your next governor. Thank you for coming out tonight, Toledo. May God bless you and your families. May God bless our United States of America, and may God bless our great state of Ohio. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the next governor of Ohio, Vivek Ramaswamy.
This is how legends are made. This is how legends are made. This is how legends are made. I'm cranking up